specifically here today to talk to you about a tweak that we are making to the school's discipline system. So for a long time, you are probably all very aware that we have a timeout system. The timeout system was designed to ensure that if somebody was not engaging in learning at school or was stopping other people from learning, that they would therefore not be able to stay in class, they would get sent to timeout, and one of the school's leadership would then talk to you about what was going on in class. More often than not, at the end of that discussion, most people were very honest, we would then probably give you a lunch detention, and that you would then go and do that lunch detention and it would build. And that system isn't changing for us. But we are adding an extra layer to it. We're going to be introducing the concept of a demerit. Now, a demerit will be when something is happening which we're going to call low level or mild, or just basically something which is a minor event that's occurring, but you're not being compliant with the rules and expectations of the teachers in the school. And so a demerit will basically be recorded against your name, but you won't get sent out of class, because the biggest weakness with the timeout system was you missed out on learning. If you did something in the first 5 minutes of the class, you then had 55 minutes down the front where you didn't necessarily know what was going on. Maybe you were able to look at something on Google Classroom, but it meant that you'd get behind. And so we're lifting the bar a little bit on the expectations for using timeout, but we are going to record when minor things do occur which could have an impact on learning once again, or other people's learning. So you'll see there's a table here, and I'll be sending this to you by email in the next 24 hours as this system starts up. But we'll be talking about some of the things that could result in a demerit. So there's some things we're actually going to be more generous now. If a teacher sees you out of uniform, they will give you a demerit. They won't put you straight on lunch detention. There were times when you might be found not being fully focused on learning, and the teacher might say, I'm going to give you a demerit because I've given you a warning already today and you haven't followed that, and so now I'm going to give you a demerit which will accumulate. But there's still the medium level and high level things that could happen in the class, which could result in you going straight to timeout and going through exactly the same system we currently have. And so after you've collected 5 demerits, you would then have a lunchtime detention with your year advisor. And using the word detention is probably just a little bit strong, but it's going to feel like it is, and that's probably the terminology used to. But it's an opportunity for you and your year advisor to meet and say, hey, something's been going wrong in class recently, which is actually accumulating to the point where we think it's actually something that we need to now talk about. What plans could we put in place to make sure that you're not distracted in class, that you are engaged in learning? Because that's what everybody needs. Everyone needs that opportunity to learn, and if your behaviour is stopping somebody else from learning, then that's not acceptable. So there's that table there, and you'll get a copy of what that is shortly by email in the next 24 hours. So this is a little document which might help you understand some of the pathways that we could go. So if we have 5 demerits that occur, that would then result in a lunchtime detention with a year advisor. And then you can see it cascades down that after 3 of those with a year advisor, it would go through our normal timeout detentions, and we'd be starting to put in plans to ensure that our behaviours are right and allows everyone to learn. But there would still be some things that could happen which will go sent directly to me, straight to Dr. Peach, and you might not be able to be at school for a couple of days, or worse, potentially. All right. So the year advisor detention after 5 times, and you'll know that there will be 1 day in the week which will notify of let you know what that is shortly, where year advisors would be doing their detentions. It's not going to be an every day of the week. It's going to be, all right, maybe if I'm in year 8, it might be Thursdays, and that there'll be a place to go and meet with Mrs. Gaskell and Mr. Francisconi to actually be able to see them and talk to them. And hopefully, we don't get too many people at this point, but the whole idea is to help you put in plans so that you don't end up at those higher levels. So lunch detentions hopefully are going to be less busy, less people there, because hopefully we can deal with these issues sooner and quicker and be able to stop them. But they still will exist. But what we referred to in the past, such as a short detention, say for a uniform, or maybe not having the right equipment, those sorts of things, they will actually be dealt through with a demerit system, and so the lunch detention will probably have a little bit more significance. We will be asking you to complete a worksheet at those detentions now, which will allow you to reflect on what happened, and in some cases you'll be writing an apology to the teacher that you've offended in that particular process, or maybe it's the students that you've actually interrupted their learning. The teacher who runs that detention will guide you through that process. We will continue to still do merits, and we will be making a shift in our merit awards at the beginning of next year from the faith, knowledge, love categories that we've had in the past to moving over to the Inner Borough Learner Profile. They'll continue to get printed awards that you'll get through your class teachers, but we'll also have a system which will get you an email each week which says how you're going with both merits and demerits. Although I am still to master that, I believe I should be able to get that to you in the next week or two. Hopefully we don't get too many demerits today. All right. So why do we need to tweak a system like this? Well, as teachers, we sat back and we really felt that some teachers were unwilling to use timeout because they just didn't want to interrupt your learning. So they tolerated behaviours at different points in time, which they probably shouldn't have. And so we're actually saying to the teachers clearly, we want you to record this information. We want to see the patterns because we want to be proactive in helping you avoid these sorts of behaviours which stop you from learning and therefore allow you to be in class and learning as much as you possibly can. We want to support you. We recognise that for some people, especially the first week back after holidays, sitting still for an hour and actually learning can be a challenge. It's a skill that we need to develop. And teachers work very carefully to make sure that the lessons that you're in are as engaging and interesting as possible. But at the same time, you have to come with an attitude that allows you to learn. And so we're trying to make it really clear what our expectations are, really clear on what some of the actions could be if you don't meet those expectations. And then finally, if we need to, you may end up meeting with Mrs. Clark, some of the directors of welfare, maybe myself or Dr. Peach, because we need to ensure that everyone can learn at this school. All right, if you have questions, I am more than happy for you to send me an email, come and knock on my office door, and so we can have a chat about these things. But hopefully that makes sense, and it is now in action from this point on. All right, thank you.